Problem with camera? No.
Problem is, it is in me, as always.
You're back.
We are recording. I have no idea why our picture is sometimes is choppy. Or
Don't worry. No, don't worry. That's fine.
Okay, Simon, but be honest. What were your thoughts when you started to listen our music?
Okay, so I thought it was, you know, prog rock, early prog rock. I mean, you know, we're going back quite a few years now. So I thought you know, I thought this was perhaps old-fashioned in some respect, but that can be also good. But I think overall the album sounds great. Bill?
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting listen to start off with. The tracks like Sophie, I think it's called. I really enjoyed all the kind of variations in bass lines and stuff like that. Yeah, and the kind of different sections within different tracks.
When I'm mixing, I prefer to work with the natural sound. As I wrote to in the past emails, as a fan of music, I can't listen to too pressure sound, too loud.
It is really difficult to deal with because every other record these days is loud and compressed and has very similar sound. So it's really hard to stay true to what you want to do and to a more old sounding sound. So, you know, it is difficult. When I listen to old master tapes of, say, Simple Minds, where the kick drum is the main thing, you know, it's right up front, and the vocals are embedded, and you know, all sorts of stuff. I mean, you hear these records and you think, my God, what were they doing? You know. But I mean, this was the sound of the time. This is what people were wanting, and so on. So, you know, whatever you do, if you pick a particular soundscape and a particular way of production, you kind of have to stick to that.
I think there's a character keeping things simple as well.
Yeah, there is.
Not over-processing everything, and you're kind of capturing more of what that music actually is, rather than trying to change it in the process afterwards by using all these sorts of plugins and stuff. So you maintain a kind of more natural character to the overall sound.
I agree with you. You know, I've listened to old master tapes and I go, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, it sounds great. But and the reason for that is that the way that mixing used to work was that you'd mix the record and then go to cut the record. So there was a huge amount of work done on the actual mixing and preparing the tapes to cut, or in what we used to call cutting is now called mastering. So we would then go along to the cutting room and do a playback in the cutting room and listen to the finished product, and then say, well, track 2 needs to come up by half a dB maybe, or the cutting engineer would say, you know, the high frequencies and de-essing, you know, could be better, and so on, and they would take care of it. So the cutting tended to be a much simpler process. Mastering was really, really simple. So that was it. You know, it was because you spent so much time in the studio getting the mixes right and then letting them run, cutting them together on tape and letting them run. So there was whatever dynamics you put into your mixing ended up on the record. There was no extra loudness applied or extra this necessarily. Maybe a tiny bit of compression. Yes, overall compression. Maybe the cutting room had a specific thing, but it was all to do with signal paths, the type of EQ that was used, the way the cutting room was set up and so on, that gave you that sound that's actually on the record. So, you know, the whole process was much simpler, but a lot more time was spent mixing and getting things exactly right. before you went to mastering and cutting. And now it's not the same, you see. People seem to rely on mastering as being the thing that kind of saves the day. Well, you know, actually people put an awful lot of work into and energy into making records, and what they're sending us is either brilliant or it may not be so brilliant. We may have to do a lot of work.
That's in big part down to the tools being available for everybody to use, isn't it? So no longer is it someone who's kind of been a career mixing engineer. We get a lot of stuff from kind of people that are doing it themselves just because they have access to those tools. So kind of the quality of what is being provided to mastering houses is kind of it's lower than what it was back in those days. But not always. I mean, there's still got the career mixing engineers around.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has access to the same stuff now and more. I mean, it is amazing. Grey area for us, because this is kind of can turn into mixing. And really, we're not here to be doing that. We're here to be mastering and polishing your wonderful work. I mean, that's what we're here to do, is just to polish it and make it sound better. And you know, but it's very hard for us to not go over the top and to keep things calm and to keep things natural and to keep things sounding like you have made it, and not, you know, not follow the path of every other record, you know, because a lot of our clients say, and here's all the references, I want my record to sound like that. And we're going, hang on, you know, why? You just spent months working on this record. Why do you now want it to sound like that? You know, this is crazy.
You have to be tired from clients' feedbacks, especially you, Simon. Bill is too young.